UFC 319. You guys know I'm so excited for this fight card. Now, it has some depth to it, but it's all about the main event, right? We have the middleweight championship of the world on the line, and it's not just any old middleweight title fight, or for that matter, it's not any old championship bout. The number 4th ranked pound-for-pound fighter Dricus Du Plessis takes on Khamzat Chimaev, who's currently ranked 14th on the pound-for-pound rankings. And we know that if Chimaev would just be a more active fighter, he could easily be in the top 10. And both of these fighters are in their primes. They're in their very early 30s. Okay, so that's what makes this bout so exciting. I put this fight up towards the top of the list when you're talking about the highest caliber middleweight matchups that we've ever seen. And off the top of my head, you know, this is up there with bouts like Anderson Silva versus TRT Vitor, or Anderson Silva versus a young up-and-coming undefeated Chris Weidman. What else comes to mind? And you guys comment below. Tell me some of the most high caliber middleweight matchups we've ever seen. We got to throw Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker in the mix. Two of the greatest middleweights to have ever done it. I know I'm missing a couple, so you guys comment below. Let me know what you think about that. Now, in the co-main event, there's major significance for the future of the featherweight division, as I'll let you guys know right now, if Aaron Pico goes out here and shows out against the undefeated Lerone Murphy, do not be surprised when the UFC puts him on the fast track towards a title shot. All right. Now, if Gene Silva defeats Diego Lopez, I believe he will be next. I think that he's a star in the making, and I think the UFC would love to prop him up towards a title shot quickly. But if somehow Lopez pulls off the upset, I could see Pico being next in line, as nobody really wants to see Volkanovski versus Lopez again. Trust me, I was cage side for that one, and I don't want to see that fight again. I know Lopez had one brief moment in that fight. Besides that, Yair Rodriguez had a big victory against Pitbull when he introduced him to the UFC, but he was on a 2-fight losing skid before going into that. So, and if Lerone Murphy wins, he hasn't been the most exciting fighter, but he continues to win. And him, similar to Movsar, they just continue to win. They're undefeated, but the UFC really doesn't care for them too much. And we know that, okay? We understand that, okay? Pico is the polar opposite, right? A lot of similarities to Michael Chandler. And you saw how the UFC dealt with Michael Chandler, right? They threw him into a title shot very fast. In fact, he fought for the belt after one fight, after he knocked out Dan Hooker. And a couple other quick mentions just to show you how fun this card's going to be. We get to see Kai Asakura look to get redemption after falling very flat in his UFC debut. But we know he's also a very exciting fighter, and this is a solid matchup for him against Tim Elliott. That should be a lot of fun. MVP is fighting up in the middleweight division, taking on the OG Cannonier, who's coming in off a big victory as well. All right, you guys don't want to hear me talk any more about the middleweight division. I know I've been going on and on about that as of recently, as a lot of our headliners have been middleweight bouts leading up to this. Carlos Prates takes on Geoff Neal. That's about we were supposed to see a while back. That's going to be a banger. 2 knockout artists squaring off there. I mean, the prelims are fun too. I mean, there's a lot of solid fights even on the prelims. I really like what we have from start to finish. So strap up. This is going to be a good one. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new here to the channel. Do all that good stuff, man. Go give me a follow on Instagram. I promise you guys I'll have some funny stuff coming your way all fight week. I'll be very active. All right, so make sure you guys go follow me on IG. I got that all popping up below. And don't forget, if you want my official targets, okay, the targets that I am looking to put big money behind on this fight card, which this is going to be a huge event for me. Telling you guys right now, this will be one of the biggest events of the year for me. Reach out to me through email or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'll give you further information there. Let's go jump into the first fight.
The teller.
If you were to tell me there's a fighter that was just 5 months away from turning 40 years old, and they were coming in off a 1 and 2 month layoff in a match where they were essentially picked apart for 25 minutes, I would say the writing is on the wall. Okay, that would seem to be a recipe for disaster. But as Edson Barboza takes on Drakkar Klose, I don't really know if that's the case here. First things first, Drakkar Klose is not nearly as young as a lot of us think he is. He's on the other side of 30 as well, at 37 and a half. And what is one of the major issues we have with backing a fighter that's in his late 30s? I would say durability is one of the main things that stand out. And I would say that Klose is less durable than Barbosa. You look at some of Klose's recent losses. Okay, he comes in off a brutal finish from Joel Alvarez, where Alvarez was just looking like he was in the Matrix there against him. Kind of had him like in a one-armed guillotine as he was peppering him up on the side of the face after he had already taken him out. Okay, you circle back to the Beneil Dariush loss that he took. which wasn't that long ago in terms of fights that Klose has been in. Okay, it may have been years ago because he's been so inactive. Okay, but in that fight, he kind of hurt Dariush a little bit. They were trading, but once again, he showed that he can get sloppy in those exchanges, and he was finished in that fight. All right, when you're talking Barboza, Barboza's only been finished via strikes 4 times, and he's battled so many times, and he's fought so much higher level competition. And even besides the fact that Barbosa has been in there with so much more elite competition, let's not overlook the fact that he's gone to those championship rounds so many times before, right? He's dug in deep. He's gone to war in those late rounds. I mean, he'll be so comfortable even late in the second or third rounds. If this fight gets ugly, I don't believe Klose has ever even gone 25 minutes. That's a major advantage that Barbosa has going for himself too, if there's a crazy pace to this fight. He's been in there 36 times. Okay, he has 12 losses. Note the level of competition in some of those bouts, and he's really got the bad end of the stick in some of his decisions. I really didn't like the way the last fight that he had against Paul Felder was scored. Okay, but you take a look at some of his knockout losses. Okay, he had one against Justin Gaethje. More recently, Giga Chikadze caught him, but I think that he still shows to be very durable. You look at the Lerone Murphy fight. I mean, he was getting teed off for a long time. He never looked for a way out. He was still blasting body kicks, landed a nasty front kick. He's always very dangerous. And I think that as these two men trade on the feet, I think that Barbosa will get the better of those striking exchanges and is more likely to get a finish there. A Klose, his path to victory, in my opinion, here would be maybe to land, a wild counter if they're exchanging and to kind of get lucky, if you will, there. I mean, I don't want to just say lucky, but you know what I'm saying. It's just not the most likely scenario, but maybe he catches an older Barbosa there. But his real path to victory would probably be to somehow try to exploit the grappling of Barbosa, where we have seen him struggle at times. But Klose really isn't that kind of wrestler. Okay, he's more of a clinch type of fighter, and I don't think that's going to go well for him, trying to hold Barbosa in the clinch. This game is all about damage these days. I think that Barbosa will be able to circle out of that type of issue, and I think that he'll sprawl on any of the takedowns that Klose tries to attack on him. So I think that this actually is a fight that looks pretty good for Barbosa, or at the very least, I got to side with him here. Okay, I like the layoff for him. It's not. I don't look at the layoff in a bad light. I think that it's good for him, and I like the fact that this fight is taking place in the lightweight division. I don't want him cutting weight to 145. I think that he'll be even more durable at this weight class. Klose, we've seen him get knocked out at this weight class before, so I mean, good luck trusting his durability. And the layoff won't be a bad thing for a fighter like Barbosa, and he takes phenomenal care of his body. He's going to have about a 5-inch reach advantage. He's the way more polished striker. He could win this fight via decision if it goes there as well, landing nasty leg kicks, working the body, just landing the big, impactful strikes throughout the fight. And I got to go with the OG Barbosa here. All right, Drakkar Klose is a fighter that pulled out when my boy Jeremy Stevens gave him a shove at the weigh-ins. And, I won't lie, that was a dirty shove there. But shout out to my boy Stevens. And I think that Barbosa is just cut from a little bit of a different cloth here. And I got to back Barbosa. Okay, Barbosa opened up as a minus 147 here. A little bit of action coming in on him. He's now minus 155. And this is one of those rare fights where you got a very old fighter that still has something left to offer, in my opinion. And I'm going to say that he finds a finish. Let's spice things up here, man. We're going to kick this thing off with a knockout call. I'm going to say Barbosa lands something nasty. It could be landed in a variety of ways. It could be a knee. It could be a front kick. It could be with his hands. You get those nice, tight, crisp hooks that he throws. I think he lands something that Klose is not going to like, and I think Klose will be finished up once again in this bout. And I'm going to say it happens in under a round and a half. I'm going to say we see a finish on the front side of this fight. Now, interestingly enough, it's the same narrative in this match here, taking place in the same weight class. At 155, we got Bobby Green taking on Diego Ferreira, two fighters that are on the opposite side of their 30s. And I'm going to ask you guys the question before I even answer it. All right, let's see if we're on the same page here. Which of these two fighters do you trust more so as far as their durability goes? If I were to say somebody's going to get knocked out here, okay, who do you think it's more likely going to be? And I would bet that the majority of you guys would say Diego Ferreira is the more durable fighter going into this match. Green is once again coming into a match off of a brutal knockout loss. It took place a little differently, but both of them were just disgusting. And that's a problem, right? When you have a fighter in their late 30s that's getting finished the way that he was against Mauricio Rufi got hit with that spinning heel kick. Okay, that's a major problem as then you return to the cage. We'll see how that chin holds up, and how can we forget what Jalen Turner did to him just a couple years ago, about 4 fights ago, where I think that was one of the worst stoppages that we've ever seen. He had him flattened out and just scrambled up his brain there, scrambled it up like it was some eggs. And, I have a lot of respect for Green. I think that he is quite the character. He's a warrior, and not many people could say, that they were on the shitter sitting there on their phone and they're getting video messages sent to them from old King Green, and he's calling them, for a lack of a better word, you could insert the word there, an itch or, a sissy type of stuff like that. And it was kind of all in good fun, but I don't know if you guys ever heard the story where me and Green were kind of going at it a little bit, and I'm not going to bore you with the details there. And we since talked, we kind of squashed that whole thing, but that was leading up to where he had that brawl with Arman Sarukian and their crew and whatnot. And next thing you know, he's sending me videos the night before his fight. I believe that was right before the Turner or Dawson fight. And he's literally coming off the weigh-ins and he's sitting there sending me these videos just to kind of show you his mentality. Okay, he's a wild boy. He really is. But I have nothing but respect for him. But the issue that I have here simply is I do not trust his durability. Ferreira is up there in age too, but I think that he shows to be more durable, and he's gone through some adversity, but really hasn't just flattened out there. I know that he's coming off the Dawson loss, and he was subbed by Mateusz Gamrot. You got to go all the way back to 2021 as far as him being finished up by strikes, and that was a fight against Gregor Gillespie, one of the more high-caliber wrestlers that the sport has ever seen. That was a fight where he was dominated in grappling positions and was TKO'd due to the fact that he just couldn't keep up with the pace down on the mat. And that's not how this fight is going to match up. So I think that Ferreira can still crack. His striking's underrated. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He could hold his own with the grappling. If Green wants to get reckless and just shoot wildly like he did against Pimblett, he could easily snag up a sub. And at the end of the day here, I will side with the older fighter, okay, just as I did in that last match. Even though Ferreira is 40, I will side with him because I think that his 40 is fresher than Green's 38. And you also take a look at the amount of fights that they've had. Green has a lot more mileage on him. I'll take the vehicle that's more reliable to get me to my final destination. All right, let's take a look at the odds here. We see Ferreira opened up right around a -180. It initially dips the other way as he's a -168, and then we've seen it come down all the way to the 200s now. He's a -200 flat. And I mean, I kind of understand why the line movement's going the way that it's going. I think it's strictly off people just having question marks about where Green is with his durability and where his head's at with all the damage that he's been taking. So, I mean, just to quickly play devil's advocate, where Green can win this fight is if his body holds up and he uses his volume with his striking to outpoint Ferreira. And, I mean, you can't completely overlook the danger that he possesses there. I mean, circle back to that Grant Dawson fight. That was a very strange one, if he could pull something off like that. But I don't really see that happening. I think that Ferreira will prove to be a step ahead here. And I'm going to say that Ferreira gets a finish. I'm calling another finish off the rip, man. 2 knockout/TKO type finishes. And this one could easily be a real KO, like a flatline KO, where Green just shuts off again. And maybe we start to see the end of the road for him. We have a real stylistic clash here taking place in the middleweight division. Gerald Meerschaert, the grappling ace, takes on Michał Oleksiejczuk, a fighter that's had a lot of success with his striking, right? He has 15 knockouts out of 20 of his victories. But where we've seen vulnerabilities from both of these fighters is on the opposite side of their strengths. Oleksiejczuk's been subbed in 6 of his 9 losses. Meerschaert has been knocked out quite a few times. Maybe not so much statistically when you take a look at his 19 losses, only 4 of them coming by way of KO. But make no mistake, we have seen him hurt in a major way in the UFC. One that stands out to us is the Khamzat Chimaev, 15-second KO, however long it took him there. If you guys remember, a little prior to that loss, he was also finished early up by Ian Heinisch in the first round. Joe Pyfer made quick work of him in the first round. I mean, there's quite a few first-round knockouts. And when Oleksiejczuk is landing that damage and getting those knockouts, a lot of the times it's in the first round. Okay, so that's something that you have to keep an eye on there. One thing that I really like for Oleksiejczuk going in to this bout is that he made the trip down to Brazil and was training with the fighting nerds. Of course, with Kyle Bahalo, Gene Silva, all the fighting nerds. But also, I even saw fighters like Rodolfo Vieira over there. And I think without a doubt, it was to specifically narrow in on his grappling and his jiu-jitsu. That's what he needs to sharpen up. All right. And that's a great move for him. He also comes into this bout with some momentum behind him after what he did to Dricus Du Plessis. I was in the arena for that fight. All right. I think things were getting crazy there in the first round. He smashed him up down on the mat. And he was coming into that fight on a 3-fight losing skid. That was a very important victory for him. All right. And you take a look at some of those losses. 2 of them came by way of sub. Kevin Holland subbed him. Michał Pereira subbed him, a fighter that's really not known for his grappling. He's more of a striking type of fighter. So, I mean, there's some really alarming losses when it comes to his grappling defense, as I mentioned. Kyo's high level there, but he subbed him. You can go down to the Jimmy Crute and OSP submission losses that he had up in the light heavyweight division. I mean, this has really been an issue for him throughout the years. And if he doesn't sharpen it up, I think without a doubt, we could see Meerschaert go out there and submit him. And specifically as the fight progresses. Okay, if he doesn't have that early success, I could see Meerschaert dragging him into the deep waters like we've seen him do before. We just saw him recently do that to Bryan Barboza. So I'll say that this fight is going to go one of 2 ways, where Oleksiejczuk's going to have a lot of early success with his striking, or we're going to see Meerschaert potentially take over with his grappling. Right, so that's kind of the call there. It's not out of the realm that Oleksiejczuk can win a decision, getting the better with the striking, and if he doesn't get Meerschaert out of there, he still gets his hand raised if it goes to the judges' scorecards. But I kind of see it going one of those 2 ways, as I mentioned. And I'm going to favor Oleksiejczuk to get a KO here, man. I'm going to call another knockout. Of course, I'm most likely not going to be right about all these 3 KO calls that I just called early on in the card, but I certainly will be right about a couple of them, at least one or 2 of them. So I think that Oleksiejczuk lands early damage on Meerschaert. That's was an issue for Meerschaert in the past. I know he's kind of fixed that up over the years, but the fact that he's 37, I just don't think that really ever goes away. He's trying to pull off kind of like an Andrei Arlovsky type of thing, where he was getting knocked out often back in the day, and then all of a sudden he's so durable and he's not getting knocked out. But I have a feeling that'll kind of circle back and bite him here. So I will say that Oleksiejczuk lands some damage, and with the development that he's working on with his grappling, will avoid any real threats early on, and he could do his thing there. So let's take a look at the odds, where we have a line trending the opposite way for once, where Oleksiejczuk opened up as a -275, and his line is going the other way. You see action coming in on Meerschaert. It makes sense to me. I don't think that Oleksiejczuk should have been almost a -300 favorite, right? If that line would open up at -275 and it would have been trending the other way, that would have really had me scratching my head, and I would have been saying there's some solid value on the dog. Now it's leveling a bit with Meerschaert being around a +190. Would have been obviously much nicer to get him at +225, +230. I still would say the value's on the dog here, though. I would say that for sure. Even at +190, even if you catch him even late as high as like a +170, if the action continues to come in on him and you're late there, I would still say the value is on the dog here. It's that type of fight. This is a closer match than the odds are saying, in my opinion. Oleksiejczuk is just too unreliable. He's 30 years old, so I mean, he definitely has time to sharpen things up and to become more grounded, but he's been a very inconsistent fighter, and Meerschaert is a fighter that's proven to go in as an underdog and pull through. So the value's on the dog. So of course, it's a must that we check in on Jéssica Andrade. As leading up to her last fight, I was ringing the alarms that she was coming in very overweight into that match against Jasmine Jasudavicius, where it was a flyweight bout. I think she took that fight on somewhat short notice, but if you saw her on IG, she was carrying a lot of extra weight, and it was very alarming. It was a major red flag, and it translated into exactly what we saw in the cage. She did not seem to be prepared. I will say she looks to be in better shape going into this match, as this is taking place in the strawweight division, a division that much better suits her, right? She's the former champion down here. She's only 5'1", okay? I know that we used to see her battle up in the bantamweight division, just to make you understand how tough of a fighter she is. But she really doesn't have any business fighting up in those weight classes. She's a true strawweight, and when she comes in good shape, it's going to be at 115. When it comes to Lupi, that's not an issue that we really even have to talk about. She's very professional. You guys know about the wrestling accolades that she came into the sport of MMA with. She's a true professional. And speaking of wrestling, I want to talk about where we have seen Andrade struggle quite a bit. And that's when she's in there against higher level wrestlers. We saw what Jasmine just did to her, making quick work of her in the first round. Jasmine doesn't have a wrestling background, but boy, is she really one of the better wrestlers in all of women's mixed martial arts. When you mix in the pace that she pushes, yeah, there's a couple losses that she took by strikers too, and Yan Xiaonan and Natalia Silva. But look at the Erin Blanchfield L, the Tatiana Suarez L. Okay, not only are those fighters defeating her, but they're going in there and they're finishing her up down on the mat. And it starts with the wrestling, all right? Where you see Andrade typically have success is where she can keep a fight standing and showcase her striking abilities and her power. You look at the Marina Rodriguez, the victory, Mackenzie Dern. She has the jiu-jitsu skills, but she doesn't have the offensive wrestling. And then, you saw what she did against Amanda Lemos, Cynthia Calvillo throughout the years. And I'll also even mention the Valentina Shevchenko loss that she took. That was a fight where Shevchenko took her down and put her in the crucifix and finished her up there. So if you have that wrestling ability and you go in there and you impose your will against Andrade, you can break her. You can break her. You can finish her. Now, we'll see if Lupi will be able to go out there and pull something like that off. I'm not so sure she'll pull that finish off. She's not really a fight finisher when you take a look at her work there, but I do believe that she can dig into the wrestling to snag rounds up. I could see her pushing the pace. I could see her just having a better motor. Okay, so she doesn't necessarily have to get that finish. She could dig deep and just use her motor to pay dividends and snag rounds. Because to circle back what I'm talking about, as far as her being a fight finisher, she's only finished 3 of her 13 victories, and they were by sub. Yeah, we've seen Andrade sub before as well, but I don't know if Lupi's going to be able to go out there and pull something like that off. I think more so we see Lupi grinding Andrade and being on top of her and snagging up rounds. Okay, so that's how I see this going. If Godinez struggles with her takedowns, Andrade is so dangerous. She's so dangerous. She's one of the very rare fighters in women's mixed martial arts that it only takes one strike from her. Okay, she lands one of those looping hooks, right? Those loopy hooks on Lupi. Okay, she could hurt her. She could hurt her really bad. And even if she doesn't finish the fight, it could really change the pace of the fight and how the judges are looking at it. Maybe we see Lupi opened up. We've seen her bleed a lot throughout the years. But all in all, I feel much more comfortable backing Lupi Godinez, who, although there's not much of an age discrepancy, I think that Lupi has a lot more left to offer the fight game. Andrade got in very early. She has many more fights, and I think that she's just at a different point in her career. Even though she shed some weight going into this, I don't know where her motivation is. Well, while on the other hand, Lupi's as professional as it gets, and she still wants to do a lot more in the sport. So in my opinion, you got to back Lupi here. And very interesting line movement. Lupi opened up as a big minus 245 favorite. That line's coming down. She's now a minus 180 or so. And I wouldn't be surprised if that line continues to dip that way. Maybe people are seeing that Andrade is motivated for the spot. And we've seen Lupi kind of come short and her big opportunities inside the UFC. So I think that's kind of what people are seeing there. At the end of the day, where this line is right now, as it's came down, I feel more comfortable backing Lupi even at a minus 180. So if the line continues to trend that way, I think it could be appetizing. Now, where it opened up, or if it circles back that way, value on the dog and Andrade. But as far down as it's dipped, I think now I'm stating that at the very least, it's accurate with me leaning towards Lupi more so than Andrade. Just I don't know if I could back Andrade here. Something tells me that the motivation isn't completely there, and I could see her on her back in this fight. Hey, you guys, thanks for joining me for this one. I'm having a blast. I'm so excited for this card, and I just wanted to give a special shout out to you guys for tuning in to the show. You guys mean the world to me. And I want to let you guys know real quick, I have the new computer system en route, okay? And it's top of the line, all right, guys? So if I look a little choppy here and there, things have been getting wore down over here, and we were due for some new equipment, but big things are coming, so you guys can expect to see major enhancements to the show, and your support is greatly appreciated. If you guys can just smash that like button and subscribe button, it means the world to me. I can't wait to show you what's to come here in the next couple months, but as far as me being bogged down or whatnot, that will be plenty cleared up here in the next week or two. So this bout actually just got announced as JJ Aldrich pulls out of her bout with Karine. Silva in steps Dione Barbosa. So you can say Silva has an advantage as far as she's been planning for this date. And Karine Silva is coming in off of a loss, right? She just took that L against Viviane Araújo. Araújo, a very underrated fighter. I don't know if underrated is the right term. You guys know what I'm saying. I mean, she's crafty. She's dangerous. She's a good athlete, and she showed up and she took Silva out there. She handed Silva her first loss in quite some time. In fact, to take a run back down with me, because you're going to see the last L that she took was actually against Dione Barbosa back in 2019 at Katana Fight 9. All right, so these fighters have some history against each other. I would say that Karine has looked very good since that L. I like the way that she looked on Dana White's Contender Series. She showcased some striking ability, some grappling ability. She ended up pulling off the sub in the second round. She was going in there time and again, just going out there, not only just getting her hand raised, she was finishing these women, right? She finished Marianne Moroz, Ketlin Souza. She had a finish against Poliana Botello, who since departed from the UFC, but at one point in time, she showed to be a powerful striker. And Karine just had everything was going her way up into that Viviane fight, and she was just a step behind in the striking department, and she got outstruck on total strikes 105-76. She was 1 of 7 on her takedowns. In fact, she was taken down 3 times by Araújo in that bout and was controlled for just as long a bout as she controlled Araújo down on her 1 takedown attempt, and she was outscored 2-1 on all 3 of the judges' scorecards, and I think it's a good learning experience for her. She's still growing. She has a good amount of professional experience, but she's still only 31 years old, so plenty of room for growth here. Barbosa, on the other hand, she's 33 and only has 11 professional fights. She should have some confidence coming into this bout, knowing that she had already gone out there and defeated Karine. She's coming in off a dominant victory over a very low-level Diana Belbita. Hopefully, Barbosa doesn't know, or she doesn't understand how low level of a fighter Belbita is. Hopefully, that was lost in translation. Hopefully, her coaches were telling her that Belbita's a stud, so she feels like she's just the next big thing. Because anyone's going to go out there and finish Belbita, but keep Belbita signed to the UFC. I love to watch her fight. Before that, she had an L against Miranda Maverick, who's not a joke. And then I do want to mention the Ernesta Kerekate victory, because Kerekate is a good fighter. I think that she's a good up-and-coming fighter. That was a big and legitimate victory that she had in the UFC, kind of stating her claim that she's a legitimate UFC fighter here. I'm going to say that Karine Silva gets redemption in this spot. I like the fact that she was planning for the date, and I also like the fact that she took the L the first time, right, via decision. I think that she's hungry for redemption here, and something's telling me that she goes out here and takes it. She shows flashes, and she's a well-rounded fighter. This seems like a bounce-back victory for her. Now, she opened up as a minus 155. Now she's a minus 170. I do not see a lot of value on her here. She has already taken an L against Barbosa. She's coming in off kind of a suspect performance, and I wouldn't cough up minus 170. That's really what I'm saying there. I have Karine Silva as the favorite. I'm picking her to win this fight. I think she should be more like a minus 140, 145 favorite. Okay, and I think that she wins this fight via decision at the end of the day. But if that line continues to trend that way, and this is one of those fights that you just come across as you're, warming your butt up on the couch, and you just want to have action on every single fight, and you want to have action on the favorite, or just want to feel like you're going to get a sneaky little win to kick the card off as it's rolling. I mean, you're getting a horrible deal if you catch her at like minus 210 if it goes there. So just caution yourself if you're playing the smart game, the long game. If you're trying to make sure you're betting on value, the values probably going to be on the dog when this fight's all settled up. This is a very interesting clash here at 185 between Ruziboev and Battle, as both of them have proven to be absolute fight finishers. Okay, you take a look at the ratio of their victories, and the vast majority of them come by way of finish. Okay, you see these fighters step on the gas as soon as the bell rings, while on the other hand, both of them have shown to be very durable. You got to go all the way back to like 2014 to the lone time that Ruziboev was knocked out. Battle has never been finished via strikes, and then each man has only been submitted 1 time. So I think that just brings a very interesting dynamic to this matchup, because they're going to meet and they're both going to look to finish each other, but they're both so durable. Now, Bryan Battle, he's coming off that lackluster performance against Randy Brown. He still did enough to get his hand raised. He was using the clinch a lot, pressing up Brown against the cage and kind of sneaking off rounds. But make no mistake, all right, before that fight, he's gone out there time and time again and has gone out there and put on a show. Okay, he's been beating these dudes down. He just knocked out Kevin Jousset in the second round before that. The Ange Lusa fight, that was a very clear victory. He was outclassing Lusa. Lusa looked for a way out. You guys know the story of that match there. He submitted AJ Fletcher. He knocked out Gabriel Green. Coming into the UFC from the Ultimate Fighter, he was pulling off finishes right off the rip. Even coming off the Ultimate Fighter, right? He submitted Petrosky, submitted Gilbert Urbina. He knocked out Takashi Sato. And the only time we've really seen him have adversity since he's put his name on the spotlight was that Renat Fakhreddinov fight where he was out-wrestled, and he seemed to really fix that hole in his game. And I'm not really concerned about Ruziboev's grappling or wrestling, so let's be clear there too. Ruziboev is going to look to land damage with his hands. He's very long and rangy, and he tries to extend those long limbs and just hit you right on the end of them and put you out. All right, and we've seen him do that. Right, he knocked out Eric McConico. He knocked out Cedriques Dumas. He knocked out Bruno Ferreira. He is very, very dangerous, and somehow he has a lengthy resume of pulling off submissions as well. Now they all come before he joined the UFC, but that's something to keep an eye on. A lot of them were against lower level competition. I don't really know where his grappling game is there, but I know against Buckley, he looked like a turtle on his back, right? And he showed to have flaws in his wrestling. So that's something to keep an eye on. Can Battle actually test his grappling and his wrestling? Because I did not think he looked good in that match. And Battle is about as I don't know if I want to say he's as high level of a fighter as Buckley. I mean, he's creeping up on that when you mix in the fact that he's much larger. Okay, but the point I'm making is that a lot of the success that we've seen Ruziboev have is against lower level competition. And when he was in there with a high level opponent like Buckley, he was kind of outclassed in that match there. So, and I do believe that it's possible that Battle can have success closing the distance and making things ugly in the clinch or sneaking in a takedown or something like that. I think that he would have an advantage there. I'm going to say that this fight goes to the final bell. I'm going to say that we see a decision here. And the difference in this fight is that Battle just makes things, it mixes things up a little bit more so. I think that he will use some of those tactics that he used in that Brown fight, using the clinch and all that. But I think this time he will be a little bit more entertaining, mixing in the striking as well. And we see a lot of the dangerous striking that he's shown, just the brutality that he shows. He's a bully in there. He'll march forward. I think he'll be the aggressor in this fight. Ruziboev will be dangerous as well, but I don't think that Ruziboev finds that knockout strike. And I think we see Battle just impose his will a little bit more so. All right, let's go take a look at the odds where Battle opened up as a minus 190, and it's coming down. He's now a minus 175, minus 172, and this fight should be closer. Okay, I got a lot of respect for Battle. He's one of the good ones, man. He follows me on IG. He's liking my videos. He's one of the rare UFC fighters that follow me and show love. It's always cool to see that. And I have talked to him quickly back in the day when he was on the Ultimate Fighter, a little comment here or there. And he's a good dude, and I wish him nothing but the best. But I don't feel that he should be too favored in this spot. This is a close match. Ruziboev is dangerous, and I like him fighting in the middleweight division rather than at 170. Okay, in that fight against Buckley, that was at 170, and I mean, there was no meat on his bone. How could he stuff a takedown, right? He's huge. He's tall. He's 6'5". He should be fighting in this weight class. I think he's a little bit more stout, and this is a fight that is closer than where the odds are saying, and I expect that the line will continue to come down. So we should see that in the line movement. And at the end of the day, I'll pick Battle to win this fight. But right now, even where this line's at, I think that Ruziboev is a live dog on this card. Now, this is really a nightmare matchup for Alexander Hernandez as he takes on the 25-year-old Chase Hooper. It's crazy to think that Hooper's just 25. I remember when he made that debut on Dana White's Contender Series, I think he was about 12 years old. All joking aside, he already has 20 professional fights under his belt, and he is blossoming just about more than anybody inside the UFC right now. He's putting it all together. He used to be a scrawny young kid, and now he's actually becoming very quickly one of the more physically imposing fighters in this division, because he has a very long frame, right? He's tall and rangy, but he's actually beefing up, man. You're seeing him come in with the muscle mass, and imagine what he's going to look like when he's 28, 29, 30 years old. I've been saying that for some time, and I truly believe that. I think that by the time he hits 30, this is going to be one of the more imposing fighters in this division. He has elite jiu-jitsu. We've seen rapid growth in his striking. He's willing to put in the work. All right, he's gone around the country training with some of the best of them. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Hernandez is just squeaking by, pulling rabbits out of his hat. Okay, somehow he enters this fight on a 2-fight winning streak when I thought that he potentially lost both of those bouts. All right, against Kurt Holobaugh. Holobaugh was clearly the better striker. He was inflicting all the damage there. Holobaugh struggled with his takedown defense, but Hernandez did nothing with it. I thought that Holobaugh still should have took that fight, potentially 29-28. The Austin Hubbard decision was very questionable. And then you take a look at some of the losses that he's taken before that. They have not aged well. Okay, losses to Damon Jackson, Bill Algeo, Billy Q. I mean, these fights have really not aged well. You take a look at some of his victories too. They don't look the best. Chris Grutzmacher, Mike Breeden, an older Jim Miller. I'll put some respect on that, but I mean, that was a close fight as well. And Hernandez, he tends to get close fights to go his way. And some of them really, I mean, we'll say close, but I mean, dating all the way back to the Francisco Trinaldo fight, he should have took an L there. Okay, he's been gifted a lot of decisions. Okay, and again, I understand they're close, but I really feel he should not have had his hand raised in multiple fights that he has had it raised in. So sometimes that's just how it plays out. Now, that won't be an issue here because I don't see this fight making it to the final bell, or at the very least, I think the Hooper dominates this fight. So this won't play out close enough for the judges to even play around in that fashion. I think that Chase Hooper could win this fight in a variety of ways. I think that he's shown a lot of growth with his striking, like I said, and Hernandez is there to be hit. But most likely, I see Hooper pulling off a submission. Okay, he's elite there. And even if he does show that continued growth with his striking and he opens up and lands on Hernandez, I think that he would hurt Hernandez and then find the sub from the club. If you guys know what I'm saying there, I could see Hernandez maybe wilting a little bit and then Hooper jumps on the back, sinks in a rear naked choke, or he could pull off a sub in a variety of ways. But I will say Hooper finds a submission within the 15 minutes of this fight. And I think that he looks like a beast out there. And it will be great just to see Hernandez kind of to get what he's had coming to him, sneaking off these fake decisions. All right. So, and you know, I'm kind of joking around, you know what I mean? No real shade thrown towards Hernandez's way. I mean, he's just going out there and trying to do what he could do, but he never really lived up to that initial hype, coming in on short notice and knocking out Beneil Dariush. And you remember what he started yapping at Cerrone, then Cerrone put him in his place. And I think that he's very lucky to still have a UFC roster spot. I think that he's lucky to still be on the roster, if you ask me. But we take a look at the line here. Chase Hooper opened up as a minus 275. He is currently minus 285, right? He's a hefty favorite, and I think that it's more than warranted here. And I think that even with this line being as high as it is, I still say there's value on Hooper here, and this could be a potential parlay piece. I like Hooper inside the distance. Take a look at what you can get on a sub or some type of finish there on inside the distance. And I will for sure have a prop edition video coming out. You guys know when we have the big pay-per-view events, it's 100% we're getting a prop edition video. So this could be a fight that we talk about more. And I like Hoopster here, or as I call him, Choopster. Kai Asakura is looking to prove himself inside the octagon. He's taking on Tim Elliott here, and I love the matchmaking, right? Asakura came into the UFC and got an immediate title shot. He came up short against Pantoja, and it specifically was due to the fact that he couldn't keep up with his grappling. Now, Tim Elliott is a grappler, right? We've seen him go out there throughout the years and really push the pace with his wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Okay, he's awkward and tricky with his striking too, and he has shown some flashes there. But I would say that Elliott is more of a grappler. So the UFC wants to see if Asakura can prove himself. Obviously, Elliott is a step down in competition from a Pantoja, but they're still going to test him in this department once again. Now, a major advantage that Kai has going into this match is the fact that he's entering his physical prime while Elliott is now, 38 years old in the flyweight division. I mean, that's not a great look. He also hasn't been in the cage since 2023. Okay, so I mean, I take that serious. I think that those are major advantages that Kai has here. Kai knows that he needs to sharpen up his grappling after that last fight against Pantoja. I'm sure he went right back to the drawing board and was working on his wrestling and grappling overall more than anything. Okay, so that's very important for him there. And even though Kai did struggle with his grappling against Pantoja, Pantoja is potentially the greatest jiu-jitsu grappler that we've ever seen in this division. I don't know if you guys want to mention anyone that's done it better than him. I mean, so we're talking about the best of the best, if not, I mean, one of the best to ever fight you with that type of tactic. All right. And that was the first time that we've ever seen Kai submitted. All right. So maybe he's not as bad as we think with his grappling. In the first round, also when Pantoja had him down, if you remember, there was one point in time where Pantoja was in his guard and somehow Kai just like jumped up to his feet. It was really weird. I mean, I guess you could say Pantoja kind of let him up, but I mean, the way that he sprung up to his feet, he showed some real athleticism in there. If he could sharpen up some of his grappling technically and become a more well-rounded fighter, he'll be a serious threat to this division because his striking is nasty. Okay, it is very nasty. He's gone out there time and time again and has gotten knockouts. He's so diverse with his striking. He's extremely fast. And he even showed some flashes of that against Pantoja, right, with the kicking game. And we've seen him go out there and do it to higher level fighters. It's not like he's gone out there and just has beaten lower level fighters, right? He knocked out Hyoji Hiraguchi. He knocked out Oka Sasaki. He also had a KO against Juan Archuleta, who was a little bit up there in age, but was a proven Bellator fighter and a well-rounded threat too. And Archuleta wasn't able to drag him to those grappling exchanges, which he has done in the past. He wasn't able to do that against him there. So take that for what you will. I think that Kai will be able to keep this fight standing long enough to potentially land a KO, or at the very least, I think that he'll get back to his feet at times, land damage, and he'll take rounds by being the fighter that is having those big moments on the feet, right? He'll have the crowd in awe. That's the type of striker that he is, right? So even if he lands a couple of those throughout the round, you're going to hear the crowd roaring, and I think that those could snag up rounds. Maybe he can open Elliott up a little bit, but the KO is live, and that's saying a lot because Elliott has never been finished, okay? And this is flyweight action we're talking about, but 13 of the 21 victories that Kai has had have come by way of KO, all right? So it's live, but at the end of the day, I'm going to say Asakura wins this fight via decision, all right? And he opened up as a minus 320. We see him as a minus 290 now. I don't know if there's an overwhelming amount of value there. It really depends what version of Tim we're getting here, or with the layoff and him being 38. I mean, if you were to tell me this was a prime Tim Elliott, that this would be a fight that I would have capped pretty closely. I just don't know what version of Tim we're going to see here. Maybe you want to try to target Asakura to win this fight via decision. Maybe you get better value there, but then you're kind of playing with fire because you're going to be sitting there watching this fight and you're going to see all these dangerous attacks coming from him, and maybe one of them lands. This is a very tricky fight, in my opinion, when you take a look at the line and all what's going on here. But my final verdict will be, I still would want to be on the Asakura side. I'll kind of cheat here and say I hope that this line continues to trend down, and if you catch him around minus 250 or something like that, then you're talking. But even at that, I'll say the values in Asakura with this high line, my gut is telling me that he comes through here. I think that the motivation that he has coming off that loss is very high, and that age and that inactivity of Elliott's a lot to back. Guys, don't forget, if you want my official action, reach out to me through email or DM me on Instagram. I'll give you further details there. We have a huge slate lined up for this event. It's going to be a big one. If you guys want to profit with me, reach out to me. I'll give you further details there. And don't forget, you can also sign up through my referral link to Bovada, and you will get an added bonus to your account. And I will give you my entire betting slate for this card for free. Reach out to me, boys. Michael Venom Page is sticking around up in the middleweight division. He's taking on Jared Cannonier, who is a crafty and proven veteran at 185. MVP, of course, he fought the bulk of his career at 170, came into the UFC and continued to have that success, right? He went out there, defeated Kevin Holland. He had a very closely contested bout against Ian Gary, who, in my opinion, is just really one of the most elite fighters in the game. And I'm not even a Gary fan, but he's just so finely tuned. Okay, that loss doesn't look bad at all. Okay, but he bumps up to the middleweight division, and he has a victory over Sheremegomedov that has aged very well. Right, so he's sticking around here, and I like him up at this weight class. I like him at either weight class, but I think that his speed and elusiveness translates even better at 185. And I think without a doubt that if this fight goes to the judges' scorecards, he's going to be a clear step ahead of Cannonier, as this fight should be a striking affair. I think that Cannonier will engage with him on the feet. Cannonier will look to land his KO. I think that he has to land a devastating strike in this fight, similarly to what he did against Gregory Rodriguez there in the 4th round. He has to land something like that. And you kind of look back at one of the more blatant losses that MVP had, right, back in the day against the dangerous Brazilian Douglas Lima, right? That was a fight where Lima chopped his legs out and they hit him with that uppercut. All right, if you don't knock MVP out, it's very hard to defeat him. He doesn't take many losses. So, I mean, you can kind of try to go the Logan Storley or Ian Gary route, which they kind of bogged the fight down using their grappling. But I don't see Cannonier jumping on MVP's back and locking in a body triangle. I just don't see him showing those jiu-jitsu skills there. And Logan Storley was just hanging on MVP's legs throughout that fight. And I don't even know if Storley deserved to win that fight. And I don't think Cannonier goes that route. He's just a fighter that's willing to oblige in a war and in a brawl. So I think that he'll look to land big strikes, and maybe he finds that KO, but I'm not banking on that, and I'm not expecting that. I think that MVP is going to be too elusive. You take a look at the numbers here, and it translates exactly to what you see on tape, with MVP only absorbing 1.78 strikes per minute since joining the UFC. And if you were to check the numbers of what he did in Bellator, it probably would be even lower. He was almost untouchable out there, besides that Lima fight where he got caught with that one strike. I mean, he would play with the opposition over in Bellator. If you guys remember, he was caving people's skulls in and then throwing pokeballs at their heads while their carcass was laying on the canvas. Okay, he was playing with dudes out there. And I just think that Cannonier's there to be hit, and I don't think that MVP gets him out of there, even though he is a real knockout artist. You take a look at the numbers, MVP has had plenty of KOs, about half of his victories, right? More than half of his victories come by way of KO. But Cannonier is tough. He's durable. He is hittable, but I'm going to say that Cannonier pushes through any of that type of adversity. And MVP has kind of been, he hasn't shown a real killer instinct, right? He's kind of, since joining the UFC, he's kind of shown that he's willing to go out there and kind of play with his food and just dance around it and go to a decision. And I'm going to say that we see that here once again. I'm going to say MVP wins a unanimous decision, easily snagging up 2 of these 3 rounds. Maybe Cannonier can snag one of the 3 there, but not enough to win this fight. And if anything, I would lean more towards, I guess, MVP even pitching a shutout. Maybe he takes all 3 rounds, actually, the more I think about it. I just think that this is a good spot for him. We saw Rodriguez landing on Cannonier even earlier in that fight, but then Cannonier dug deep and he came back and looked wonderful in those later rounds. This is a 3-round fight. MVP should be able to front run this and just it'd be too quick out there. All right, let's take a look at the odds. MVP opened up as a -190. This line's coming down, and I hope that it continues to come down. All right, you guys know I love backing. Not only do I love backing MVP, I like betting for or against MVP because we've been very accurate on him, and I've been very accurate on him even back to the Bellator days. He's just been my golden goose. We faded him when he took on Ian Gary, and he came through taking that L there, and then we backed him in all the other fights. Caught him at dog odds, right, multiple times, right, against Shera and Ian Gary. Got that plus action on him, and he's just been one of those fighters that have been very good to me. All right, and the fighters that haven't been good to me that I just can never pick correctly or never cash in on or cash against or on, Derek Lewis, and you could definitely throw Chris Duncan's name into the mix too, man. Though those guys, I can't get my finger on those guys, but I got my finger on MVP, and he comes through here. So I was supposed to see this fight live. If you remember, this fight was supposed to kick off that big pay-per-view event that took place down in the 305, and it was one of my most anticipated bouts as I purchased tickets for the event that was headlined by Volkanovski and Diego Lopez down in Miami. And what happened was, if you remember, they needed a new headline fight for the Kansas City fight card, so they pulled Prates off the event and they matched him up with Ian Gary. But you got to tip your hat to Gary. He takes that fight on short notice once again, and he showed how elite he was. And Prates showed a lot to us as well. That was a hell of a fight, if you guys remember it. What I liked about that match for Prates, he showed a lot more than just going out there and knocking you out early, right? He showed real heart, real cardio, digging deep in the 5th round. And even though he was a step behind, I think that he showed he's a star in the making and in a different aspect. Like I said, not just going out there and being a front runner. He showed he's a lot more than that. And this match right here, a striker's delight, southpaw versus southpaw. I'm very, very excited for this match. You do not want to overlook Geoff Neal. And I want to circle back to a match really quickly, a match that Prates had early on in his UFC career against Trevin Giles, where he actually ate a lot of damage early on. We saw him being landed on. He likes to carry his hands low, and it was kind of catching up with him early on. Eventually, he finds the mark and has another highlight reel KO. But, I was a little bit worried about him defensively after that fight. And when you have a fighter like Geoff Neal, who hits as hard as he does and has as slick boxing as he does, that could be a problem. Now, I will say, since that match, Carlos has just been almost untouchable in there. He's going out there and he's just styling on the opposition. What he did to Charlie Racky was ridiculous. The way he was just like holding his hand and then cracked him with the knee to the body. What he did to the Leech, what he did to Neil Magny. These performances that he's going out there and showing us, they're phenomenal. He moves differently. Okay, and it's very likely that he goes out here and does that to Geoff Neal. Geoff Neal's only been knocked out once throughout his professional career, and that was actually by Kevin Holland before he signed with the UFC. So before Geoff Neal signed with the UFC. So that was another rangy, dangerous striker. Maybe Prates can replicate some of that there. But all in all, Neal has shown to be very, very tough and durable. I think that Neal is live and is dangerous here. You don't want to completely overlook him. But you guys know where I'm going with this. How can you doubt this man here, man? All right, he's gonna go smoke a bogue, go smoke a cig before he walks into the octagon. He's gonna go out here, and my final verdict here has to be Prates to win this fight via knockout. Okay, he's a knockout artist. You're gonna see that here. He has 13 of his 21 documented victories via KO, but there's 5 undocumented victories, and I'm willing to bet all of them are by KO. All right, so you got him up there right around 18 of his 21 victories come by way of KO. Just 3 of them haven't, right? And 2 of them were subs, and he probably smashed the opposition there and clubbed and subbed them. All right, he's that dangerous, and I think that he's going to find the mark here. I think that the length that he has in his legs, if he stays on the outside, I think that he could really use his speed and his fluid movement to have a lot of success here. So got to go with Carlos to get a KO, and he opened up as a minus 245. He went up to a minus 285, and then it goes right back to a 245. So we got the old U going on here. That's interesting. I'm interested to see where this line goes from here with the way that it U'd here, right back to where it started. And I really would be interested to see where this goes. I just like being on the Carlos side. You don't want to completely overlook Neal. If the line's up, like you don't want to target Carlos anywhere when he's up in the minus 300, higher minus 300 range if it goes that way. But where it is now, I still would feel more comfortable backing Carlos. I just think that he shows to be so dangerous and just shows to be that guy. There's a reason why back in the day when Bellator got their mitts on Aaron Pico, he was one of the most highly touted prospects that the sport had ever seen. He already had all kinds of accomplishments and multiple aspects of mixed martial arts, right? He had multiple amateur boxing championships. He was a Golden Gloves winner. He had multiple pancration championships. He was an accomplished wrestler. He was undefeated in high school. And although he never wrestled collegiately, which I believe was due to the fact that he signed with certain sponsors, and that was prohibited at that time. But he then went on to win all kinds of wrestling championships, and he competed with some of the best in the wrestling world, right? He was in there. I think one guy he wrestled went on to win a gold medal in the Olympics, and he was wrestling wrestlers that were at Penn State and Iowa and all that. Okay, so it wasn't even like he was just hand picking who he was matched up against. He was a high level wrestler. All right, he's a true athlete. And since he officially came over to the mixed martial arts world, things did not just go smoothly. If you guys remember how things kicked off, right? He made his professional mixed martial arts debut back in 2017 against Zach Freeman. It was on a big Bellator card, and he was already being showcased. Okay, he got caught in a guillotine choke in just 24 seconds. He then went on to show the flashes that we expected as he went on a 4-fight winning streak. with knockouts in every single one of those fights, and they were all early KOs too, all first-round KOs, even against the respectable Leandro Higo. All right, he then proved himself, but then we started to see him make these mistakes continuously, right? Henry Corrales cracked him in the first round, finished him up. Adam Voorhees finished him up. Now, these are respected fighters too. These were fighters that had a lot more experience than him at the time in mixed martial arts. All right, but he never shied away from the sport. He continued to grind. He then put together a solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fight winning streak. All right, he defeated recognizable names like Aiden Lee, Justin Gonzalez, who fought, I believe he fought on Dana White's Contender Series. He was undefeated not too long ago, and that led him to the Jeremy Kennedy loss. Now, remember, his shoulder popped out of place in that fight. Okay, that wasn't just a normal L there. That was kind of one of those losses where your body's given out on you, and the toughness that he showed in that fight. Okay, he was never looking for a way out. He was trying to battle with one arm. It was sick. Okay, so he does have the heart of a lion, and since that L, he has now went on a 3-fight winning streak. He got redemption, right, against Henry Corrales, Corrales was the fighter that knocked him out back in 2019, one of the few there, and he has since really put it together. He's only 28 years old. Okay, so he's still coming to. He's maturing as a mixed martial artist, even though he has all these fundamentals and all this training from a young age. We haven't seen near the best of him. A lot of you guys already know his situation, man. He was kind of being held hostage over there at the PFL. He wanted out. He wanted to fight under that UFC banner. He wants to fight the best in the world. And I love the fact that the UFC is throwing him in there with Lerone Murphy, who is undefeated. They're giving Aaron Pico an opportunity to take all that buzz away from Murphy. And as I said in the intro, I think if he goes out here and has a stunning KO, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets an immediate title shot after. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying it's guaranteed or anything, but remember what happened with Michael Chandler. And the fact that Michael Chandler had that opportunity was due to the fact that he was always so exciting. The UFC loves those types of fighters. Okay. And that's exactly what Pico is. There's a lot of similarities from Chandler and Pico. Okay. They storm forward. They look to start you. I mean, even though Pico has those grappling abilities, really what he looks to go out there and do is to just smash your face in and finish you. Okay. And you can't really say the same for Murphy. The last fight that he just had against Josh Emmett was far from entertaining. I mean, he does show brilliance. I mean, he's an excellent fighter, and I think he is the best version of himself. The Barboza fight, we talked about that earlier. He looked great against Barboza, and he has some respectable wins here. But let me also say, I thought that he lost the Gabriel Santos fight. I thought that was a very bad decision. Santos was so young at the time. That was his UFC debut that he took on short notice. That should have been an L, in my opinion. And since then, he's on a 4-fight winning streak. And I like Pico, man. I really like Pico. I think his killer instinct is just about second to none. And I think that could be a big deciding factor in this fight, as he will be the aggressor. We'll see if Murphy can try to counter him. We have seen Pico countered before, being overly aggressive, and it's caught up with him. And he's been knocked out twice, right? 3 TKO or KO/TKOs. One was due to the shoulder injury, and then the other loss was that sub. But he's been finished in all 4 of his losses. I think he's going to be a step ahead of Murphy here. I do. I don't think that Murphy's going to be able to play that tactical type of fight from the outside with his polished boxing skills. I think that this will be a nasty war, a nasty fight. Pico is just going to be slamming the gas, and I think that he will be landing the more damaging shots, while at the same time he will be live to land his KO. Not Murphy will be live to land a counter. I could see a finish in this fight coming from either way, but I think it's more likely we see Pico go in here and once again get a nasty finish. And you take a look. I mean, so many of his victories come by way of KO and early, and they come early, man. And that's where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to say he comes in here like a bat out of hell, makes a big statement in his UFC debut. And, I'm not going to say he gets that UFC title shot after that, because I think that Gene Silva is going to be the fighter that fights for the belt next after he's victorious over Diego Lopez. But Aaron Pico, maybe we see him matched up with Yair Rodriguez. That would be a hell of a fight. I don't know. Maybe that's what we see at the end of the day. But give me Pico to come in here and show out and be victorious in his UFC debut. All right, he opened up as a -135. He's now a -147. So we see some action coming in on him. remember, he has all types of abilities. Okay, he's a ferocious wrestler. He'll slam you down, and he'll look to just rain ground and pound down on you and all of that. So I think that his tenacity and his nastiness in the cage will be the difference in this fight. Here we go. We got the main event. DDP, Dricus Du Plessis, takes on Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev, I would say he's one of the most intimidating fighters that the game has ever seen. And it's strictly based off the fact that when things are going good for him, when he's hitting on all cylinders, he dominates like no other, right? You think about some of the early knockouts that he's landed, like against Gerald Meerschaert, or you think about him picking up the leech and just tossing him around the cage, smashing him, or you even think about what he just did to Robert Whittaker, right? Jumping on his back, cranking his face, smashing his jaw. I mean, he is a dangerous man when things are going well for him in the octagon. Let's not forget, there's been a couple matches where things have played out very closely for him. Now, when you're talking DDP, I personally believe that he is one of the most underrated fighters in the game right now, one of the most underrated champions. You constantly see all these memes that people make about him, about the way he strikes. They show little highlights of him throwing these awkward angles, tripping over his shoelaces. And I get that people are having fun with it, but I think that some people that don't really fully understand the sport, they kind of buy into it a little bit too much, okay? Because I'm telling you right now, DDP is as high level as it comes. He's one of the greatest middleweight fighters to ever do it. If he wins this match, he will be tied with Chris Weidman. He'll be in third place for the most UFC title wins already, and he's still just a spring chicken. He's 31 years old, so he's gonna have an opportunity to try to make a crazy run in this division. Obviously, he has a big roadblock in front of him here. And let's not forget Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva. Okay, they have a crazy number next to their name for UFC title wins. So he still has a long way to go. But it'll start here for him to continue that trend to try to become the greatest middleweight fighter to have ever done it. It's a long road. But I'm telling you guys, he is elite at what he does. And the way that he just looked against Sean Strickland in that rematch, which some people thought that he won that first fight, was very, very close. Okay. The way that he went back to the drawing board and took his game to another level, that was one of the most dominant championship performances that we've ever seen. I'm telling you guys, I mean, the way he smashed Strickland's nose, he was playing with him, and the way that his striking went to another level. That's what I want to talk about. You don't get caught up in these awkward movements. The way he pulls it off, the way he makes it work, it's dangerous. It's super powerful. You see him intertwining the leg kicking game too. He's nasty. He's a real athlete. Okay, he's been playing all kinds of sports from a young age. Okay, he's a specimen, and I think that he gets a lot of hate towards his way. Honestly, I mean, a lot of you guys may not agree with this, or you may come at me a little harshly. I think people hate on him because it's one of those things where people are kind of jealous. I mean, he's a good-looking dude. He's confident. People hate those dudes. I shouldn't say people, really a lot of losers. They kind of hate those arrogant, cocky guys. And he doesn't really do it. I shouldn't even say arrogant because he doesn't do it in an arrogant way. He just does it in a confident way. You saw how he handled Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland tried to come at him with all that nonsense. And, you know, he came at him real harsh. Okay. He's ruthless. I love the fact that he brought up the whole situation with his dad. He's like, you want to come at him personally? I'll 2 times you. You know what I mean? I like that kind of energy. When someone comes at you a certain way, 2 times them. He shows that he's cutthroat and he delivers in the cage. And, you know, I've said on record that Ilia Topuria is my favorite fighter in the game, which I guess I shouldn't even be speaking on that too much because some of you don't even want to hear that. I know I'm going to get some slack in the comment section, but I try to be transparent with you guys because, you know, we're in here, we're a community. DDP is actually my favorite fighter in the game right now. You know, he follows me on IG. Some of you guys will tease me about this, man, but he's liking my posts. You know, he's hitting me up with a little heart on some of my messages when I'm tagging him and stuff. It's cool, man. It's cool to be a big fan of a fighter and to get a little bit of feedback from him and have him follow you. It's cool. I mean, I hope that some of you guys can relate to what I'm saying, as we're all really fight fans here, man. You know what I mean? So I hope some of you guys can relate to that. And I am a big fan of the energy that he brings, the fighting spirit that he brings. And you know, let me just quickly say, Khamzat Chimaev, he's a beast. The wrestling that he's going to bring into this fight, it's serious. And the danger that he's going to bring early on in this fight, it's very serious. But I have some legitimate concerns about how he's going to look if this fight goes to the later rounds. And that's a big if. That is a big if. I understand that because he'll go in there and he'll make quick work of a lot of them, as he just did to Whittaker and Holland. But DDP is not easy to be finished. Okay, he's not easy to be finished. And if this fight goes to the later rounds, what is this fight going to look like? Kamaru Usman jumped off the couch, jumped up in weight. Okay, he was undersized. DDP is much larger than Usman. All right, DDP is rumored to be walking around way up in the 200s. He's a massive middleweight fighter. Okay, and Usman's an older fighter, and that fight was very competitive, and Usman started to take that fight over as it went. How can you forget about how the Gilbert Burns fight played out? I was there live in Jacksonville for that fight. That was a very competitive fight. It could have went either way, and Gilbert Burns is nowhere near on the level of DDP, and Gilbert Burns is nowhere near the size of a DDP. Burns is a fighter that fought down in the lightweight division. I mean, DDP arguably probably can even bump up to the light heavyweight division if he really wanted to. Okay, so this is there's a huge difference here. And Khamzat Chimaev is so inactive. He's averaging, what, 1 fight per year over the past 3-4 years. Okay, he's in there 1 time per year, and you just don't know what you're going to get from him. Are you going to get this type of a Burns performance, an Usman performance, or are you going to get the dominant Whitaker, Holland, the Leach performance, the Gerald Meerschaert performance? But I would say that none of those fighters are anywhere near the level of a DDP. You could say Whitaker is, but you saw how the DDP versus Whitaker fight went as well. DDP smashed him. Okay, he finished him up. DDP has serious power. When this fight goes to the later rounds, if it goes there, which I say it does, I say that DDP takes over this fight. I know about Chimaev going over to San Diego, and he's working out in the old man's garage and all that. Dillashaw's old training coach, physical training coach. I don't think that that's going to cut it. I don't think that Khamzat. I think that his type of style is quick twitch, and it's early pressure and aggression. And I just don't think that he's going to be on the same level cardio-wise as DDP in those later rounds. And DDP, look what he did to Adesanya, sinking in the rear naked choke. The heart that he has, he thrives late in fights. He has grappling abilities. He has underrated grappling abilities, and he's game. He's game. I'm telling you guys, he's absolutely game. His cardio has shown to be some of the best that we've seen in the game. Okay, and it's funny because early on we had question marks about it, but you know about the rumors, or not the rumors, the talks of him having the nasal surgery and all that. So again, I know the haters are going to be hitting me up in the comment section. Go ahead, hit me up in the comment section, but I'm all over the dog here, man. I say that DDP drowns Chimaev late in this fight, and I say he potentially gets a finish late in this fight, or he absolutely takes it over, and DDP wins this fight via unanimous decision. I think that he takes this fight over and proves to just to be the more well-rounded fighter, and just to be, once again, the most underrated fighter. And after this victory, the respect is going to be put on his name. And another fighter that's so overlooked and disrespected in this game is RDR, Reinier de Ridder. It kind of annoys me when I see people just hating on them because they don't really understand what they're looking at. It's like if you don't have that tight, crisp, technical type of style, like we've seen from certain fighters that they have it, but they don't really have the it factor. Just because your hands are nice, up high, and you're nice and tight, and you're throwing these sick 1, 2, 3s, you know what I mean? That left jab straight, all crisp with your hook and all that. It reminds me of some fighters from back in the day. I'm trying to think of a few that I can name. You guys know I'm talking about. Comment some of those fighters below. They're so technical, okay, but they just lose fight after fight. Like a Melvin Gillard, his striking's all tight and crisp, but slipping on banana peels, getting finished left and right. All right, DDP's awkward. He's herky-jerky, but the way he mixes it all up, the way RDR mixes up his game, these guys are elite. And Chimaev is elite as well. And I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, if he has success early in this fight, but I would be surprised if he has success late in this fight. So that's how I'm calling it. I'm on the dog here. I say Dricus Du Plessis comes through. If I have to make an official pick here, damn, I got to go with either finish or decision, which I'm so torn on because I just see him having a lot of success late regardless, but does he get that finish late in the fight? For fun, man, we got to take DDP to get that late finish, man. That fifth round, that fifth round TKO stoppage over Chimaev, or maybe even subs him. He clubs and subs him, but he breaks him down late. That's how I'm going with that. And you take a look at that plus action. He's currently at plus 165. A little bit of up and down action. I hope people continue to put money on Chimaev. You already know I feel the value's all over the dog here. Plenty of value on this line, and we hit you guys with a nice underdog pick, man, to cap this thing off. DDP reigns supreme. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap this one up. I had a blast doing this, and this one was fun, man. This is one of those events. This is one of those cards, man. I am going to be locked in to the screen. Not like we're not locked into every single event, but you guys know what I'm saying, man. This is a little bit more special for me, man. I can't wait for the main event, and I can't wait to see Aaron Pico debut, and I can't wait to watch a couple other fighters go out there and look to build some momentum, like Chase Hooper and a couple other up and coming fighters in the game. So I'm pumped for this one. I got to leave you guys with some parting words, and I'm going to circle back to my last video, because I did get a couple negative comments for what I said, and I kind of just want to clarify what I meant by it, and I hope I didn't rub any of you guys the wrong way, because at the end of the day, man, you guys know, especially you guys that are waiting to the closing thoughts that stick with me through my video. I mean, you guys are part of my community here, and I hope I didn't rub you guys the wrong way. And what I basically just meant by what I was saying was, you know, first off, big shout out to everyone that's involved in their community, or who is looking to do certain things and to have an impact in changing things that you don't like, if certain aspects of things that you don't like what you're seeing, right? If you're trying to be part of a movement to better your community and to better your world, your country, I'm all for that. So let me be clear there. All I was kind of saying, or what I meant to say, was that you know, you could do that, but also be grounded to what's right in front of you and what's the most important. That's all I was kind of trying to say there. So I hope I didn't rub any of you guys the wrong way, and I hope that you guys see what's also directly in front of you, besides, you know, looking way outside the box at all these other details. And I hope that you guys have all your fundamentals, as we would say, right from the fight game, like your fundamentals, your priorities set straight, you know, first and foremost. And with that success there, you know, you could also look to help your neighbors and all that as well, right? It's like you gotta like fix your own ship before you start fixing other people's ship. That's all I'm saying there. But I don't know, man. You guys mean the world to me, for tuning in, and for always showing love and support. And I always see the positive comments too. So you guys always put a smile on my face, man. Every single one of you guys that pops in here, hits me up with the W comment, just even as simple as that. You know, like that comment right there. Believe it or not, when I see those comments, man, it means a lot to me, because I'm like, you know, that's somebody that didn't even hit the comment section up to say something specifically. It's like they just wanted to show some love and help out with the algorithm. It's like I feel the love there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe that sounds corny to some of you guys, but it does, man. It means a lot to me. And then of course, as well as for those of you guys that hit the comment section up and show love in a variety of ways, man. It's cool, man. And I appreciate you guys greatly. I hope you guys are all doing well out there. Truly mean that. Signing out. Teller.
The teller.